Amen. Hello again. We've been reviewing our reform lines. It wasn't my intention to get bogged down into details, but I wanted us to review some of the elements of them that we can tend to forget and see how powerful it is when we can compare and contrast and use those symbols correctly in each reform line. So we began by constructing the line of the 144,000. We just did it simply. The 144,000 reform line with its 5 key waymarks. We identified the close of probation as a shut door. We went back to October 22, 1844 as a shut door, and we identified the history prior to it, the unsealing of a message, its swelling until it became the midnight cry of the Exeter camp meeting. We took that model and overlaid it with the history of the Sunday law, the unsealing of a message, and then it swells until the loud cry. We identified that repeating pattern. We took it to the history of 1989 to 9/11 and plugged the repeating pattern back into that history. We see it's the same thing. The unsealing of a message, increase of knowledge, formalization test. We see it here and we see it here in the dispensation of the ploughing and the dispensation of the latter rain. On two witnesses then, we can see it also in our other dispensations. And we brought that to the line of the priests, and we placed most of our focus on that reform line in the line of the priests. That we have this increase of knowledge from 1989 to 9/11, formalized in 1996, shut door at 9/11. See that repeated, 2014, 16, 18, 19. Those 5 primary waymarks. And then we plugged that same repeating pattern into the history of 9/11 to 2014. Increase of knowledge, the 2520. Placed in 2009, you can place that as a waymark. 2012, it's formalized with the message of time setting. And those who rejected that message took the Laodicean view and they fell away in the history of the Sunday law. So we wanted to review the symbols that we take to this repeating pattern. The symbols I primarily want us to remember is that a message is unsealed. A message is unsealed at each one of our key waymarks, yes? So a message is unsealed at 1989, then at 9/11, then at 2014, then 2019, then 2021. A specific message is given to God's people. They're going to have an increase of knowledge. On that message, it's going to be formalized, and then they're going to be tested upon it. That's our structure. We can use different letters for this. We go to Millerite history and we call this Boston, Concord, and Exeter. So we take the 3 key camp meetings of Millerite history. They plug into that model. So whenever we have a reform line, whether it's 144,000 priests, Levites, Nethinims, or whether we want to go back to the lines of Christ or Moses, we're looking for 5 key waymarks. And we understand that they have the symbology of the hand. We went to all of our different dispensations, specifically those relating to the priests, and identified that what we can take from these 3 camp meetings. So Concord, what do we take from Concord? My sister. Sorry, loudly?
An agreement or unity.
An agreement or unity. So wherever we see Concord, we expect to see agreement or unity, yes? Concord, we went to 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 15. What concord hath Christ with Belial? So concord becomes a symbol of this unity, agreement. What is a characteristic of Exeter? Characteristic of concord is you expect to see unity or agreement. My sister? Time. So at this Waymark, you expect to see time, yes? These are the repeating patterns. We have 1989, Boston, Concord, Exeter. A message that has some relation to time. Boston, opening up. Concord, Exeter. A message that has some relation to time. 14, 16, 18 is a message with some relation to time. We can see that. So when we come to this dispensation, 2019, 20, this Waymark here, this Exeter, what do you expect to have an element of? Time. So we took this pattern, and you would see this pattern in every one of these 4 dispensations of a reform line. This reform line begins at the time of the end. Then you have this Waymark. Here we have a shut door. What do we call this? What's our favourite name for this Waymark? Sunday law. And Sunday law is always where in that reform line? Midway. Where do we get this from? My sister, where do you get this from? This Waymark is midway. We can see it in the structure, but why would we call Sunday law midway? From Millerite history? What date? So July 21st, we drew it here, midway between April 19 and October 22. It's a space of 186 days, and it's 93 days from April 19 to July 21, and then another 93 to October 22. So we have July 21st as being midway, and that was significant for the Millerites because they know that they're tracing the parable of the 10 virgins. And they understand that when they come to July 21, a cry is raised. And what's the cry? The bride is coming, go ye out to meet him. The cry Samuel Snow makes at the Boston camp meeting. So they identify the cry beginning here, yes? The cry begins here, but when do we mark the midnight cry? Raise your hand.
August 15.
So you mark August 15 as the midnight cry? But the cry is raised here?
Then mark the progression.
Yes, sister?
I think it starts from July 31st, but in silent. Later it swells and comes to a loud cry. In August 15th.
So it starts silently, July 21st. It's quiet, and then it's going to swell. That's what you're saying. So you can identify the cry beginning as the parable of the 10 virgins states. The cry is raised here. But we're saying it begins quietly, then it's going to swell, just like the Sunday law. July 21st lining up with the Sunday law. July 21st being midway, or in the parable of the 10 virgins, it's known as midnight. So Sunday law becomes the symbol of midway or midnight. And we can see that in our structure, our structure with its 5 fingers, Sunday law is indeed midway or midnight. It makes it simple to identify. So if we were going to take that pattern to these waymarks, you always know where Sunday law is, yes? Always midway. So for the Levites, when is their Sunday law? My sister. When is Sunday law for the Levites? Someone said 2021? My sister? When is Sunday law for the Levites? 2021? My sister? 2019? So we're working off this reform line here. Without even having to identify all of the waymarks, why do you say 2019? It's the midpoint?
Yes.
So they have their time at the end. This would be 1989. This would be 9/11. And this would be 2014 or Sunday law, close of probation, second advent. Is that okay? Sunday law for the Levites lining up with 2019? Or you don't quite understand? That moved too quickly. If we were to do the line of the Levites, they're just a fractal of the 144,000, yes? So you're going to place 1989 here, they begin their ploughing. Just like the 144,000 are ploughed from 1989 to 9/11. Is that okay? Then they're going to experience their early rain. From 2014 to 2019. The Sunday law waymark begins what in the agricultural process? My sister. What begins at the Sunday law? I think we might have it. If we were to go to 3SM, 385, and it has paragraph 1 to 3, but we'll focus on paragraph 3. I'll paraphrase it. All it tells us is all the struggles to carry our appeals to the highest authorities in our land, however earnest and strong and eloquent may be the pleas in our favour, will not bring about that which we desire, unless the Lord works by his Holy Spirit in the hearts of those who claim to believe the truth. Paragraph 2. It's the title of this, the title of the paragraph, Laws to Exalt the False Sabbath. We are to be ready and waiting for the orders of God. Nations will be stirred to their very center. Support will be withdrawn from those who proclaim God's only standard of righteousness, the only sure test of character. And all who will not bow to the decree of the national councils and obey the national laws to exalt the Sabbath instituted by the man of sin to the disregard of God's holy day will feel not the oppressive power of papery alone, but of the Protestant world, the image of the beast. The great issue so near at hand will weed out those whom God has not appointed, and he will have a pure, true, sanctified ministry prepared for the latter rain. So we understand on the line of 144,000, this is ploughing from 1989 to 9/11. It is early rain from 9/11 to Sunday Law, and then this Sunday Law crisis begins the outpouring of the latter rain. If that's okay? So when we come to the line of the Levites, they're ploughed from 9/11 to 2014. They receive their early rain from 14 to 19, and their latter rain begins to fall 2019 to 2021. And from 2021 begins their harvest. So Sunday Law on the line of the Levites is 2019. We can see that from the model of agriculture, but we can also see that directly from the structure itself, being the midway point of our hand. Midway or midnight. So this is the structure we have for a whole reform land. So in each one of these dispensations, there is a message unsealed, yes? So I want us to investigate that a little further. I had to go and get changed in Elder Parminder's class, so I didn't follow where the disagreement was. I'm just going to review what we said yesterday regarding the torch. Make sure that we're on agreement there. Let's say this is the line of Moses. We come to the time of the end. Now there's a prophecy that brings you to the time when Israel was to be delivered from Egypt. What is that time prophecy? Yes. 400-year time prophecy. Can someone take us to a verse? My brother? Genesis? 15? Verse 13 to 16. And God said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. And afterward shall they come out with great substance. Verse 16, but in the fourth generation they shall come hither again. So there's a time prophecy that's extending 400 years. It's going to take them to the deliverance. I don't want to be specific about waymarks or dates, but you come into this history of Moses, and what does Moses say to them? What does the first angel always say? Fear God. Give him glory, for judgment is come. I'm looking for another phrase.
I'm looking of a literal deliverance. At first Moses expects to literally deliver them. But God is going to teach him how he should do it.
Moses expects to literally... Why does Moses expect to literally deliver them?
I think how he was brought up in Egypt. he understands that he's a new military man, so he's well prepared to literally deliver them.
I think most of the children of Israelites most of them knew that time prophecies that a deliverer would come in that time period to take them out of the land of captivity. Because God had foretold it to Abraham.
So, what does the first angel say? What did John the Baptist say? You raise your hand.
It's a time of deliverance.
It's a time of deliverance. Another way of saying that, of wording that? Repent? Anyone else? My brother.
So it tells them to repent.
The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Why is it at hand? My brother. How does he understand Christ is coming? The time is fulfilled. That's the phrase I was looking for. What does John the Baptist say? The time is fulfilled, or the time is at hand. The time for what? For deliverance. Because you've come to the expectations of a time prophecy. So Moses, whoever else is looking at this, studying this, Moses is going to say the time is fulfilled. He knows that Israel is to be delivered. He has his own ideas about how that deliverance should take place. But that's essentially what he's saying. So he comes into this history and says, time is fulfilled. So if we were going to talk about a torchlight, where do you want to place the torch? My sister. You want to place the torch here. So there's a torch here. And where do you want to place the light? This way? Saying there's light this way? Anything else you want to add?
Okay, it's like at the first, it also was prophesied. Then, when it says time is fulfilled, it's when the prophecy is fulfilled. Like it's not happening. So, what has been said is coming to real life. That's what I think.
Anyone else? Does anyone disagree with placing the torch here? My brother.
I agree, but I'm saying that the torch is looking backward, it's eliminating the past history.
So you want to put the torch backward? You're saying it looks like this. So you don't agree? So we have one person say it looks like this and another say it looks like this.
I have a different view. I would put my torch reflecting forward and then backward.
So this is option 1. This is option 2. Option 3. We have a torch. It's projecting light forward. And you're saying that also there is light going backwards. My brother in the green.
Me, I wouldn't use a torch. I don't want to use a torch.
Don't like our symbol. What would you like to use?
A candle.
You want to use a candle?
Because a torch will not give me a clear meaning, because I'm still keeping constant your point of yesterday that the light, once we give a light, it shed in front, but it flashes backward also somehow. And then I will put my backward to be if the time is fulfilled, which time it is the 400 years of captivity. So what is now in front that the light is shedding, it's coming out of what? Egypt, going back to the promised land. So if I put a torch, it will not give me a clear meaning. That's why I choose to put a candle, because it's a candle that will flash me in front and then shed some light backward for me to see what was behind me. That's my view.
So you want a candle?
Yes.
You're saying that it projects light equally everywhere. Yes, bro.
Okay. Mine, I look at the context. If you have to put the historical torch that was used anciently, it will look like a flame that was burning. So it will shed light both ahead and behind. So the ancient, but modern, the torch that you have in there is the one which you see there is little amount of light, but the ancient torch was pointing ahead and backward like a flame.
So I suppose one of my questions is, what do you mean by this light? What does that light represent? My brother.
Mine is increase of knowledge or formalization of the message.
My brother.
I think it's the message that is unfolding during that, in this context.
Where is our quote? The quote that was given earlier.
CET 204.
CET 204.1.
Who gave that quote earlier?
Me.
Where is it in there that you see the point you wanted to make?
I did not give that quote in order to complete what I was saying now, but I was told that where can you get the quote that can illustrate what is being said by these people. So I gave that quote. But I can also see my point in that quote in the sense that the quote is telling us, is reviewing our past history and our present. I can say, praise God, Christ is our leader, and there's no worry for future if we understand better the past. So I'm saying also in that time period, John the Baptist have understood the fulfillment of the time in 4 AD, and that message is the one that is being opened up to the Jews in order to recognize what has happened in the time of the end. So this is how I can relate my view with what is in the quote. So having understood the time of the end, they are going to understand what is going to happen next. What is first that is going to establish the future.
So this wasn't the quote that I was thinking of when we discussed this yesterday. And I can't immediately find it, so we're going to come back to it tomorrow once we have the quotes. But I just want us to think about, we used Moses. One of the reasons I used Moses was because there's nice quotes where she talks about the period of darkness. Prior to the birth of Moses, they're in a time period of darkness. So I want us to think about this and what we mean by the light, or the opening up of the light, and how it's transmitted. But we also can overlay with this model, if we were to talk about our past dispensation, 2014, 2016, 2018, 2019. What's the focus of the Midnight Cry message? Is it like this, where we're pointing only forwards? We're just going to highlight the future. Is it like this, where we're just looking backwards and we're going to understand 1989, 1996, 2014, 16, etc.? Is it like this, where it's focused forwards, and some is reflected backwards? Or is it all-encompassing? Is it projecting light in every direction? So I want us to think about what the light is and the focus of the message as it opens up in each dispensation. And we need to get that right, because that pattern, that one dispensation, is what we will see in every single one of them. It's what we're to expect in our own dispensation now that we're in the time period of the harvest. But I don't want to go on until I find that quote, and I haven't yet found it.
It's unlikely.
Early writings? 248.
And that one is unlikely.
I don't immediately see that, so I'll keep that saved and we'll come back to that tomorrow. So we'll come back to this. If you keep that in mind, I'll leave that on the board. This is our repeating pattern. We know that prior to the opening up of a message there is darkness, yes? So there is darkness prior to that Waymark of Boston. So is there darkness prior to 2014? There's darkness, a message is opened, and light increases, yes? There's darkness here.
Of course. The line shows that.
Raise your hand so I know who's talking. Yes, sir?
He has to be. Yeah, also. It's there also.
So there's darkness here,
Yeah.
darkness here,
No, there's no darkness there in that line.
no darkness.
Yeah.
So you're saying this is darkness and this is all light.
Yeah.
So you don't want to place darkness here.
I'm saying darkness is prior time of the day. So if 9/11 can be time of the day, then before it has to be darkness. Because it's time of the end of what?
Your last sentence?
I'm saying time of the aim is preceded by darkness, isn't it? So if 9/11 is time of the aim, then it has to be preceded by darkness in order to keep that principle.
So only prior to the time of the end is darkness. So there's darkness here, and then you're happy that here, the time of the end, 1989, light increases, and now no more darkness.
No, I'm not saying that.
What you say?
I say the light has to illuminate the darkness, and now to begin to see in the darkness what are the things that they have never been seeing before because of lack of knowledge. That's what I'm saying.
So there's no darkness after the time of the end.
To those who are seeing, they are not affected again by darkness. But those who have closed their eyes, they are still in darkness.
That wasn't my question. Anyone else?
I think there is darkness that the second Waymark, which is in 11, means there's darkness concerning the message of time. Now then it is revealed, which increases in 2009 until 2012. Then there is darkness in 2014 concerning the message of Sunday dawn. And again, 2018, it goes with that, I think.
So you think there's darkness before the time of the end,
Yes.
and then light increases?
Yes. But that message, which has been received.
What methodology are you using when you do that?
Just taking the principle that since we have understood or we will understand that message which has been revealed at the time of the end, when another message comes, it means we had no light concerning that specific message. So we were in darkness.
Did we have no light on time prior to 9/11? No light on time. Does everyone agree with that? If this is 1989, and we just want to talk about time, this one subject, there's darkness. You want to place the darkness here. In this dispensation, in the dispensation of the ploughing, do we have any time element to that message?
Yeah.
Would you agree that there's a time element
Yeah.
in here? What is that element saying? What's said regarding time in this history?
I think we talked about the Sunday law.
So it's saying that there's going to be a Sunday law. When is it saying the Sunday law will occur?
The time of the end.
At the time of the end? This is the time of the end. When are they saying the Sunday law will occur?
According to the magazine.
Yeah, in this history. Anyone?
I think the point there is the time of the end magazine.
When is it saying the Sunday law will occur?
No, I'm not adding what you are saying. I'm answering your question that...
My question is, when is it saying the Sunday law will occur? That's my question.
In the future.
We've known that for 200 years. Not quite. 150 years. Imminently? More information? Anyone want to add to that? Disagree with that? No one else? Imminently works. What I would suggest is being said is that we're in the history of the final generation. So it's going to happen in your lifetime. Does that make sense? So we have a time element introduced. I know it's not specific, but we can stand up in this history and say the Sunday law is going to happen in your lifetime. If we were to go back to the message of Paul, what is he saying to people? Settle down, build your houses. Don't look for it. It's not going to happen. The 1260s to occur. We know that Paul couldn't give a specific message of time. So when we come to Ellen White, she has a similar method of handling time setting. Paul is on this side of the 1260. Ellen White, at least at the beginning of her work, is on this side of a 126. So neither of them can be specific about the time. But we come into this history post 1989, and now as this message opens up in the Time of the End magazine, we know that we're now in the final generation of Earth's history. The Sunday law will happen in our lifetime, and it's imminent. Are we doing that well? We're predicting the Sunday law well. No. When do we get better at it? So in 2012, Now we're predicting. How are we doing? Better? We're improving? Predicting 2014, do we know about fractals? Do we know what the Sunday law looks like? In this message, it has an element of time. This is an Exeter, this is an Exeter, this is an Exeter. Message relating to time. It is in the name, but it has to be more than the name. We looked this morning in Elder Parminder's classes about the name, giving the key thought of the studies. But that means there has to be an element of the studies. There has to be an element of time in the studies themselves. The element of time is saying that, yes, the time of the end has occurred, but the significance of us now being in the history of Daniel 11:40 part B is that Daniel 11:41 is directly in front of us. If this is 40b and this is 41, we know that we are in the final generation that will see the Sunday law occur. So this has an element of time, but it's not being specific on dates. Your lifetime could be 100 years. Let's say you're 20. Give yourself 80 years. You know, maximum 80 years. So you're coming to this history 9/11 to 2014. Still a message that has a link to time, and that prediction is becoming more refined. 2018, it is more refined. And I suggested yesterday, 2018, still not perfect, still not ideal. In every dispensation, we're improving. So when I said what methodology are you using, I suggested you're talking about a line of progression. So coming back to our symbols, our repeating pattern, our 5 key waymarks, we looked at particularly the line of the priests. What we studied yesterday, I'm starting to feel that people don't all agree with that, so we'll revisit yesterday. We said that the message focuses forward. Whether we're using the symbology of an eye, or a candle, or a torch, it's the same thing. So everyone that doesn't agree with the torch shining forward, you don't agree with this. I just want you to note that. You no longer agree with what we discussed yesterday. So we need to revisit that. We said yesterday at Exeter, at that waymark, the key projection is forward. 1996 still forward, 12 forward, 18 forward. We know if we went to Millerite history, the Exeter camp meeting, the bridegroom is coming. Coming is a future waymark, October 22, projecting forward. But once we've investigated that, I can see that not everyone is settled. We'll revisit tomorrow with quotes. We looked at Concord. Concord in all of these waymarks. The first within that dispensation, the increase of knowledge having the symbology of Concord. We went to the 273 from Acts 27. We saw the 273 casualties at the Battle of Lexington and Concord. We linked that back up to 2020, where we placed that. We looked at 2016. The Concord, we talked about Concord Management and Consulting, the Concordia Summit. We talked about Concord as the death decree. So we just looked at some witnesses for that waymark to have the symbology attached to it of Concord. And where we finally left off was in the dispensation of 144,000 that we're currently in. We asked the question, how many dispensations are we in? My sister in the blue, how many dispensations are we in? 2. What are those 2? $144,000 in the priests. So as of recently, a couple of months ago, we would have said we're in this dispensation, and I know we've moved on. We've moved on from this dispensation of the latter rain. But what is the key message in the dispensation of the latter rain? What is the testing message? What is the testing message in the dispensation of the latter rain for the priests? Equality. So there was a message to do with equality in this history of 2018 through 2019. But we're in a second dispensation. We're in the early reign of the 144,000. When we get to 2019, it's a waymark on two reform lines. So there was a message for one reform line, the priests. The message for the priests related to equality. The message to the 144,000 related to the Sunday law. So back to back, because we're in these two dispensations and this one waymark that intersects all of them. It's the first waymark that we've had that intersects priests and 144,000 since 2001. First time in 18 years. So now that we have a waymark that intersects both 144,000 and priests, we have a message for both. This is the understanding of equality, 14 to 19. This, on the line of 144,000, is the increase of knowledge or concord, and it relates to the Sunday law. So the people that leave this movement, that reject this message, how many messages are they rejecting? 2. That's why people are falling or tripping over the message of equality, and they're tripping over the increase of knowledge of the Sunday law. Both were rejected, both have caused people to leave the movement. So it's been a test on two levels because of the nature of these two reform lines, both of which we are treading through. So I want us to look at our dispensation. Do we have any questions or thoughts related to that? 2019, a waymark in two different dispensations. My brother.
I have a question.
Yes.
So my question is that when we go to line of things, when we know that from 2014, that is people are being tested. How people are being tested in religion, but that is okay. So we know when we read 2019, that test in there. But coming to line of 104, you can see that the testing, when we mark them, you can see that it's from 900 to something more. But we have seen that since we came to 2019 to the increase of knowledge, then you see that there are other people who start failing the test. Could we say that at the end of the test, or there is another message which is going to continue? Because when we come, we see from that pattern that the testing is not a complete like that one of from 2014 to 2019.
So I'm going to repeat your question to make sure I understand it, and you can tell me if I'm repeating correctly. You've seen that in 2019, and I just want to add this point, the issue of the Sunday law was not revealed in 2018. It relates to equality. In that respect, in its relation to equality, is part of the Midnight Cry message. But it opened up in 2019 because it is the increase of knowledge on this reform line, not this one. On that level, it is not part of the Midnight Cry message. Only as it relates to equality is it part of the Midnight Cry message. But the opening up of it is an increase of knowledge for the 144,000. The history of their early reign. So your question, I will reword, is there going to be another message that people are tested upon in this history of 9/11 to the Sunday law? This is 2019, 2021. And this is the 144,000 and the early reign. that your question? There's going to be another message come to test people, because people have already been tested.
When you take the line of peace, then you can see that the testing, that period is supposed to be 1 hour. When you see it is complete, but bring it to that line, you're going to see that at the increase of knowledge, which is even the, let me say that the middle of the test, you see that the other is starting failing the test, and we can't say that the test has to be there. So the test is going to end at Sunday long. When we are marking the Dinko and Sunday long, this is where the test is going to end.
Where do you want to place the test on this reform line? In this dispensation, where do you want to place the test?
Okay, we know in that dispensation is the Pomeranian, and the Pomeranian is the message. So
It doesn't have anything to do with form or rain, just structure. You could overlay this with ploughing, latter rain, harvest, anywhere. In this structure of a dispensation, where's the test? Anyone want to answer? Where do you want to put the test in this history? My brother. You want to place the test here? My brother?
I think the test is the same level of question. 2019 is increase of knowledge. Then 2021 is evaluation. I still have a question.
Come back to you.
I wish to place a progressive test from 2021 to somewhere.
Anyone else? Yes?
Yes, you can use the idea of Boston Conference entity. The same level is Boston Conference 2019, except that 2021, the test would be Sunday.
So you're agreeing with this at the Sunday law?
Sunday, but then 2020 is the time.
Your brother? You didn't... Anyone disagree? My sister? Yes?
Mine is a question. So, from 2021 to, okay, from 2019 to 2021, in the line of peace, it is another dispensation. And that dispensation, and in that line of 124, from 9/11 to Sunday law, it is another dispensation. So, are we using the same message, which is about Sunday law, as the test from 9/11 to Sunday law, or there is another message from 2019 to 2021?
How many reform lines are you on?
From 9/11 to Sunday law to compile to compile.
So you're on two different reform lines. So you're on one that is the 144,000. So on this line you're here, and you're in early rain, yes? You're in your early rain. Then there is another reform line, the priests. And on this reform line, you are in your harvest. I don't quite understand your question. Your question being, are these two different messages?
Yeah, are there two different messages which are used to test people in those dispensation, or it is only one message, like the issue of Sunday law message?
I want want to answer it this way. 144,000, a message opens up at 9/11, it's going to increase and swell, and where is it going to be formalized? It's going to be formalized in 2021. I'll expand this out. This is 2019, so this is the early rain, and this is the harvest. Early rain on the line of 144,000, harvest on the line of the priests. 2019 to 2021. Where's the formalization? We don't know. I would suggest if this is 2021, this is Panium, yes? So Panium is the formalization of the message for the 144,000. But it's the shut door for the priests. So the formalization in our harvest period must occur before Panium, yes? It must occur before this Waymark. I'm just using this as a test. This is our pattern. Every single dispensation ends with a test. I know it's the second Advent. But I'm going to put a shut door at 9/11 for that dispensation as well, and it's not the close of probation. We understand that logic. So this Waymark occurs before the formalization for the message in our harvest occurs before the formalization of the message on the line of 144,000. So they must have some differences. Does that make sense?
Yes, I have a question.
Before a question, there was a brother over here with a question, so I'll go back to him.
Okay, right. We got this right yesterday because the message was directing the line of the message was pointing to the Sunday Holy. But when I look in the line, I see that there is not a message which has ever been test before it is on the line. Right? Because if you go to 1996, you see that the day giving the message there, then to become the test. But if you come to this line, the same to the second of 2014, the same to 2019. But if you come here in 2019, it's like it is an increase of knowledge. At the same time, that message is being testing people when it's not in the life. So I was like, how is it different from other life? Or why is it different from other life?
Pure to go back to the Millerite history, April 19 to October 22. Boston, the message opens up, yes? Concord, it's being shared. Are people already rejecting it? The leaders? Even in its early stages, people are rejecting it. The reason that I would suggest people in 2019 are already falling away is because it's linked. It has that link. We said that to equality. It does connect to that, to the testing message of the Sunday law test for the priests. Because the issue of the Sunday law, it connects to the issue of equality. So if they're going to trip over one, they're going to reject both. But I would suggest, has this issue of equality as it's opening in Sunday law up in 2019, that issue of the Sunday law, has it finished testing us? Maybe we've only seen a little of the test. Maybe we should brace ourselves. If we are only at the increase of knowledge of the Sunday law, and people are already struggling, what about when it's formalized? We do not properly understand it. We do not fully understand it. So it has not finished, or it has not, for that dispensation, it hasn't really yet tested us. where we've stumbled over it is because it relates to equality. Does that make sense? It's this concept of this issue we have of juggling two concepts at the same time, juggling two reform lines at the same time, 144,000 and priests. And until you get to where they intersect, it all seems really simple. Now we start to need to refine how we consider these reform lines. I want to give us a further example of that without actually digging into this too far. I'm just going how much? Okay. So I'll erase some of this. I'll do it up here. Coming back to our dispensation. (2014), 2019. Give me some names for this Waymark. What do we call this? Everyone I heard said raffia. Why do you call it raffia? Someone raise your hand. Why do you call it raffia? No one knows why they call it raffia. My brother.
Maybe when you look at the history, I think mostly that name comes from when the king of the south is the king of the north, the battle place. Because it was called Rafa. Where we get that from.
So where are you taking that from? No, this isn't Diadochi. Daniel 11, you okay with that? It's not, I was just looking for the chapter. You went to something else. So you call it raffia because there's a battle in Daniel 11. This verse in Daniel 11, is it speaking about 2019? Is it? Does anyone say that it is? Is it speaking about 2019? So it's taking a battle in history, explaining a battle in history between Seleucus and Ptolemy. That's it. Seleucus and Ptolemy fought at a location known as Raphia. That's all that verse is. We take that verse, we make application, and we placed it here. And then we looked into the future, and we saw there's another battle, yes? And we call that Panium. We're also going to take that from Daniel 11, the battles of Raphia and Panium. What I want people to explain to me is why you know this Waymark as Raphia. Why is that the first thing you said when I asked you why you called it Raphia? Everyone with one voice said Raphia. My brother. Application? Anyone else? When did we first discover Raphia and Panium? So back here in 2016, studies were done that said they didn't have the dates, they just said in the future is Raphia and Panium, two battles between the king of the north and the king of the south. We didn't have a date, did we? Then we came to 2018 and we identified we have this date of 2019. 2018 as well, we also identified this year as well. So we understood that these battles of Raphia and Panium, we could now connect them to dates. I know this sounds like a confusing question, but it's something that I think we seriously need to consider and investigate. Why was your first answer Raphia? Because we've taken that name Raphia, we've projected it onto this year, and that's its name. Does anyone want to add a thought? My brother. If you can speak up, sorry, because you're right at the back. I know that history. 2016, we don't know the King of the South is coming back. That's what you're reminding us of. So it feels really significant. We have these two battles, Raphia and Panium. Why, when I asked you today, what is 2019, did everyone say it's Raphia?
Raphia come out of Daniel 11. And it is that phrase of Daniel 11 that takes us to Daniel 11 verse 40. Up to the end. And Daniel 11 the phrase all about the king on the north and the king on the south.
So it's because it's from Daniel 11?
Yes, it is because Daniel 11 is all about the king of the south, king of the north. So there is another authentic that you can use another one like the word of that but that one is more weighty than that.
Why is it more weighty?
Because when you see in Daniel 11 verse 41, we talk about the glorious man. And that glorious man, compared to Daniel 11 verse 16, that is the narrative of that war. We see that 11. We also see the glories. So we compare them and contrast them. We see that exactly the same. They are giving us the same.
I understand. I can take you to the Diadochi Wars and 2 World Wars and do the same thing. Why are you saying this one is more weighty? Sorry? If you could talk. I can't hear you. If you watch the videos of Kenya, we take the 4th Diadochi War, the War of Pyrrhic War, World War II, 3rd Diadochi War, and World War I. We take 5 wars and open up 1979 to the Sunday Law. Entire history. Direct application.
You can use different symbols to identify that, but you cannot bring all these things. You cannot bring all these nuances. You need to pick one. And that one has to be the one that comes out first, the light that you first draw. Like the light about what?
You don't think World War II could give us that?
That one is that is the Waymark of Ascalon. That's the Waymark of Ascalon. So you can also use Ascalon there. But the fact that we cannot use all these things together, we have to go past to the first symbol that we get out of the water.
Do we?
We have to.
Can we not teach Ascalon without going through Daniel 11?
No. Yes, we get Ascalon through Daniel 11, but that is not true. That is not like the way we get that. Because that one is it's just.
We showed these 2 battles in Kenya without ever going to Daniel 11. Based on 5 witnesses.
What?
We showed Raphia and Panium We demonstrated 2019, 2021 on 5 witnesses without going to the Battle of Raphia in Daniel 11. Don't need to watch them. You probably know the studies. I want to know why you say this is more weighty. What do you mean by weighty? I want to use this as a parable. I'm going to erase this because we're getting lost in the words, and we'll redraw the lines when we come back to them tomorrow. If we were to take the history of the fall of Greece, Alexander the Great dies in what year? 323 BC. How many years do we have our 4 generals? 22 years takes us to when? 301, and this battle is? This is Ipsus. This is Daniel 8:4. So 8:8, 11:4. You have 4 generals here. And in those verses, we can just focus on Daniel 11 because that's where we're wanting to go to. What does Daniel do? He takes us from the fall of Alexander, the breaking of the notable horn, until we have 4 horns. Does he give us any history in between? The notable horn is broken, 4 horns rise up. We're okay with that. So this is Daniel's story. He's going to take the death of Alexander. He's going to skip all of this history, take us straight to the Battle of Ipsus. After the Battle of Ipsus, around 297, who dies? Cassander dies. And then you have how many horns? So you have 1 horn, it's broken, you have 4 horns, and then in this history you have 3 horns. Lysimachus is conquered, and then how many? 2 horns. In the history of Seleucus and Ptolemy, king of the north, king of the south. So through Daniel 11, Daniel is going to take us from Alexander. He's going to pick up these 4, and then these 2. We're okay with that. 2018, what do? We come into this history. We come down to the 4th Diadochi War. We take the history where there are 5 horns, generals. Then we take the history where there are 3 horns or generals. So we skip the history of the 4. We're taking this history and this history. Does that make sense? Then we understood the 3rd Diadochi War. We start taking this history, projects us back to the time when Eumenes was alive. Essentially then you have 6 notable. We come down to the end of the 2nd Diadochi War, and you have primarily these 6. Simplifying that history, Eumenes is killed, and then you have 2 wars fought between our 4 horns and our 5th, who is Antigonus. The Battle of Ipsus, the 5th Antigonus is killed, leaving our 4 horns Cassander, Lysimachus, Seleucus, Ptolemy. Cassander dies 4 years later. So Daniel, he's going to take the death of Alexander, skip 22 years, some of the most significant events for that period of Earth's history, take us to when there's 4 generals, there's only 4 for about 3 or 4 years, there's 5 generals for about 16 years, and skip straight to when there's 2. We come to that history. We go into this history after the death of Alexander. We pick it up, if we include the knowledge of World War I, Third Diadochi War, we pick it up at the death of the 6th. We go through the history where there are 5. We note the point where there are 4, and then we explain the history where there's 3. What methodology is this? My sister. Cherry picking? Where do you cherry pick? In what methodology? You're going to a chapter in Matthew. What type of story are you going to?
You see about it's a parable.
It's a parable. That's all I wanted. So it's a parable tool of parable methodology. Explain cherry picking. You can explain cherry picking.
Okay. Yeah. You pick something that suits. Okay, you pick something that suits the story that you want to tell. Like in the parable of the sower, you will see Christ explaining how.
Without going to a story, explain how cherry picking works.
You can create a story. You can create a line.
Whole story.
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to figure it out.
So this is one story, yes? What has Daniel done? You've already told us.
Daniel picked one story.
So is cherry picked?
Yeah. Alexander, and how the kingdom is divided and given to the 4 generals. It doesn't tell us more about the others that come in.
So he's going to take a whole story, that's what you told us, and he's going to cherry pick the bits that are relevant to his parable. And then what do? We come to the same cherry tree, and what do?
We also do cherry picking. We come to some history. We see the history of.
So the division and fall of Greece. As it becomes divided, split apart, can never reunify. So we have one long story. Daniel goes into it, cherry picks what's relevant to his parable to make a point. He wants to give us a parable story where we have 4 winds. Then another where there's king of the north, king of the south. North wind, south wind. So he's giving us this model of geography that we can make application for in prophecy. We come to the same history, we cherry pick different events. So why then would we come to this history and what we're essentially doing is saying that Raphia has more weight than Asculum, or that Daniel's cherry picking has more weight than the ones we did. Has my brother gone that made that point? So what do you mean by weight? He's gone? He left? This was all for his benefit. Okay. We're out of time anyway. I want us to consider, before we come back tomorrow, how we name these waymarks and what then are our expectations. Why, when I said name 2019, did everyone say raffia? If you kneel with me, we'll close in prayer. Dear Father in heaven, thank you for our blessings. Thank you for the light you've shed upon our pathway. I pray, Lord, that you'll give us more of an understanding. May we understand it as we should. Please don't leave us or forsake us. We know that on the lines that we are a history of success, and each one of us has an opportunity to be part of that. I pray, Lord, that you'll give us greater clarity and that we might be in unity on these subjects. In Jesus' name, amen.